Hello, everybody. I'm Kevin, and I'm back after a few months now. And you know, sorry I haven't been active for a while. Though I guess some people wouldn't care because I only have 8 subscribers. But I'll try to get higher. But anyway, I'm gonna sit like this. So today we're gonna talk about the First Man movie, and I'm not only gonna talk about. Oh crap! Sorry about that. That's my Lego set. That's gonna be there for a while now. But anyway, we're going to talk about the First Man movie, my thoughts on it because I saw it Friday, and I'm also going to talk about the controversy that occurred. So yeah, so let's. You know what? I'm going to start with the controversy because it's already it's been stupid for a month already. Like, let's just get straight into it. So the First Man controversy. Now, if you've never heard of this controversy, then obviously you don't follow Twitter and all that stuff. But that's okay, because you don't need to know about this controversy, because it's kind of pointless. Now, here's what happened. Now, in the film festival, when they showed the movie in a film festival, as I guess like biopics are typically shown in film festivals first, or something like that. It was reported in August, like I think somewhere in the end of August, that they aren't going to show the American flag. Well, no. What happened was I think someone reported or someone started a rumor or reported that they know a guy or that person who saw the movie said that there was no scene showing them put down the flag in the moon. Now, I think we all know the most like one of the most iconic images of the moon, and that is where Neil Armstrong or like one of the astronauts is on the moon with the flag right next to them. That is iconic. It is really iconic, and this movie is on the first moon landing, and it saddens me that people suddenly got like, what? Why is there no flag planting scene? They aren't proud of America. How dare they? And why? Why'd they do that? Like, why did people just suddenly be like, oh, this doesn't have that one scene. I instantly hate the movie. Like, the movie's about an American going to the freaking moon. How patriotic can that be? Like that is like patriotic in itself. And they're just like, "Oh, not patriotic enough." Like they betrayed America, and it's just so stupid how like suddenly this controversy became big when it shouldn't have even became a controversy in the first place. That's just like that's just stupid. Very stupid. Now, like this, along with rumors, I'm guessing it rumors or whatever that started this whole fiasco. This started taking in the spotlight, and you know, I don't know why like this just even became controversy, and it just became worse and worse. Like, well, it kind of did stop actually, although articles do mention about the controversy, but the controversy doesn't isn't really that big if you know, if you really think about it now, because like it's not like super big that you see it on Fox News or CNN or whatever. Well, maybe you guys see it on the news probably, but like I think it did finally die down a bit because I'm looking at articles of the First Man. It seems like it since it seems like on the days leading up to the release, nothing much has happened. Although there were some articles that were when the movie was starting to come out about the controversy. It seems it has died down a bit. Now, anyway, now in the last month though, like then like some famous people started getting involved in this controversy because like why not? It's a controversy. You have to get involved, which is stupid now, and it's also because Twitter exists. Yep, one con of Twitter. When there's a controversy, everyone gets involved. So, where should I start? Oh, yeah. So, when Ryan Gosling, the person who plays Neil Armstrong, defended this statement, Marco Rubio, who I'm pretty sure is senator. I may be wrong. Like my mind or my memory of politics is kind of faded a bit because if you guys seen my other channels, I've recently gotten into Harry Potter, and right over there are two boxes, which is Fantastic Beasts, Harry Potter. Right there is the Harry Potter books and Harry Potter wand and Harry Potter stuff over there. So yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think the reason why I got into Harry Potter is not only because the stories are actually good and I can relate to them, it's because I can actually root on someone for once, which is something I have not been able to do for our president or freaking anyone. Well, except people that actually do deserve it. Because let's be honest, the president is a mean person, and I don't care if you're going to try to use that argument like, well, what about his policies and stuff? He is like is the president's like I think main goal in my opinion is to lead a country. He represents the country as well. Like he doesn't really do much like if for a typical person, he doesn't make laws or whatever, but he represents the country and he's a leader. He's supposed to lead. So our president fails at both of those things. He doesn't like well maybe he does perfectly represent America, seeing how if you just go on Twitter you might think, oh, he is technically right representing the people on Twitter right now. But anyway, back to the point though, sorry about the Harry Potter comparison, but yeah. So anyway, so yeah, like Marco Rubio got involved saying that it's total lunacy, because what Ryan Gosling said was this. He said that like Neil Armstrong didn't see himself as an American hero. He saw himself as like a like a world figure, something like that. And like what he did was not just a U.S. achievement; it was a world achievement. But then Marco Rubio had to go up and say, "This is total lunacy. How? Like this is about like I forgot what he said. Like the one part he said I remember hearing him say was it's total lunacy. And then he started then he made it then he seeing how America is so humble about stuff, he decided bragging about how oh we it was American astronauts that did all the work. It was American engineers that made the stuff. Oh joy. It wasn't a UN mission. Ugh. Sorry if I offended you for doing that, but you know what? He is I did not like his statement at all. It was just embarrassing. It just really was. And if you thought mine was like that I if you thought mine was bad and I should apologize, I might do that, but I might not. So, yeah. I mean, I am a reasonable person, but that was just like why? Just why? Cuz here's the thing. Ryan Gosling is right. What like the moon landing and what Neil Armstrong basically did was it was a world achievement. No one had made it to the moon. Like no one. He once he stepped down there, he set a world achievement, not a US achievement, a world achievement. Something every country would basically write in their history books. I can guarantee you that. And, he inspired like basically everyone because he was the first man on the moon. And although he wasn't the one that engineered all the stuff and was like the guy who made it all happen, he was part of it. Like, he did help contribute. He took part in some of those missions before that. Now anyway, here's now the controversy. Marco Rubio didn't help. Another person that didn't make it help was Donald Trump. Yep. Did you think he was not going to get involved in any controversy? No, because that's perfectly what he does. And if you haven't noticed that, he seems to like to get into every single controversy as possible. Like, if you haven't noticed that, then you're probably not smart. unless you've been doing stuff like me where you just get yourself distracted by a bunch of fictional stories. Except those fictional stories, I can root for the heroes. Now, anyway, like he of course had to get in the ring because why, because he's the president who just wants to get as much controversy as possible. What he did was this, like I don't know how he expressed these views or whatever. I don't think it was Twitter. I think it was a rally or something. I'm pretty sure it was an interview or so whatever. But they were mentioning the First Man movie. Seeing how it didn't have the flag and stuff. And also, I'd like to mention they did also mention there were the flag can be seen in the freaking movie. Now, anyway, Donald Trump was like, go, oh, he was just like he was just like this. This was how he was. Wait, let me try to remember what he said. Actually, he said, sorry, I had to think. I did not prepare enough. It was like it was like the filmmakers are embarrassed of what America did. It's like they're embarrassed that we even attempted this or whatever. What he basically said was this. He was saying that what he was basically saying was he was basically insulting the filmmakers because he thinks that they were embarrassed that, on this achievement that America made. And seeing how Donald Trump has to act like we are the best country in the world, so shut up. That's what he basically is. That's basically his vibe to anyone. Like there's just no way you can defend that. I mean actually yeah, actually I can't defend that. There's just no way you can refute that cuz that's how he basically is. I have to act patriotic and ignorant as always. And that's how life works now in America cuz you have to act super patriotic or you don't like our country at all. It's just stupid. First the kneeling, now this. What's funny is this was like the kneeling thing was 1 month ago, like 1 year ago. Now, anyway, let's just get back to the thing now. So, anyway, Trump had to throw in his ring as well, and, conservatives also didn't, weren't going to boycott the movie. Trump said he was going to probably boycott it. I don't know if he's seen the movie or not. I don't think he really would have anyway. Like, in my opinion, I don't think he would have seen it at all. Because he is the president, so he probably has to go play golf instead. I mean, what else does he have to do? He could just actually do his job. But no, he has to go play golf, which is more important, and tweet some stuff. Now, anyway. Yeah, and I would like to make one more discussion on I'd like to talk about one more thing about the controversy, and that is Buzz Aldrin. Now, he's in this movie as well, for the first man, because he was the second man on the moon as well. He also threw his hat in the ring, and he didn't directly say what his point of view was, but I think if you saw two of his tweets, I think you can kind of see what his viewpoint is. That is that he was also against the idea of no. Also, basically, he was also like, why does this movie not have the flag scene? And why Buzz Aldrin? Just why? First the movie, now this. In the movie, I have to say, Buzz Aldrin was kind of not a good person. Like he wasn't like a terrible person, but he seemed kind of ignorant in the movie. And he probably was like that in real life if I have to think about it. I don't know. My brother also mentioned this when he read the book. Like there was well not the book, even though this movie was based on a book. He was like my brother read this history book on Neil Armstrong, and he said that in the book they mentioned Buzz Aldrin was a jerk. Sorry, and so maybe he was a jerk in real life. I don't know, but I was like, come on, Buzz. This is the second time I'm kind of annoyed with you. Like you could see in his tweets, it was like hashtag proud to be American, and the other thing was the American flag moon picture thing with him saluting it. It's funny how this controversy whole started. Now, anyway, this whole controversy thing was just stupid, and I think the only reason this gained this this gained too much was because of the patriotism and how Americans are ignorant, and also on how the kneeling thing became a big American flag issue, and ever since we became like sensitive to the whole American flag, and whatever now. So if you kneel, you oh no, I just realized that if you kneel, you know, is basically sounds the same as Neil Armstrong. So maybe we aren't disrespecting our flag after all. We should use that argument. Of kidding them. But anyway, let's talk now. Basically, like since the kneeling on during the American like national anthem, I think that's how this whole controversy started, and I think it was also because of some because of some conservative 5 year olds who just were like who were basically disappointed that they weren't going to add just one scene in the movie. Now let's talk about the movie. Now, the reason I bring this up is because in the movie, if even if they did add the flag scene, it would kind of be irrelevant to the story because the story is mostly about Neil Armstrong, and I wasn't really sad that they didn't include it at all. What the? Oh, sorry. And I wasn't really sad that they cut that part out, like they didn't add that at all, because what this movie was about is basically the life of Neil Armstrong from 1961 to 1969. And the movie is really good. Now, after all my complaining of the controversy, most of that is due to the fact that they haven't even seen the movie, which is breathtaking and really good. Not like super good. This movie does have some issues that I'd like to address. And I'm gonna start on the negatives now. Here are my negatives with the movie. It skips, like, okay, in the movie, it takes over the span of 8 years. So it's gonna be a little hard to try to get, like, most of the stuff that, try to get most of the important events into the movie. But they skip from years to years a bit too fast, you know, like, like, for example, like, hmm, sorry. Like, for example, like, there was this one character, Gus, who, Gus and Neil would, Gus was also an astronaut in NASA as well. Gus and Neil had these scenes, they were like neighbors and were also working at NASA together. They were kind of like, good old buddies, and they were, I think I could see, I don't know if I'd call them friends or not, because maybe they were. I don't want to, like, I don't know. I don't know how I would like to say it, because, because, history and all that, and I don't know if in history if they were actually friends or not, but, like, they were kind of like friends, and, they kind of, like, were, they were kind of good old buddies, drank beer and also talked to each other, all that stuff. And, like, like these two people were, basically nice to each other and all that. They were neighbors. They had, they had family and all that. Both worked at NASA. Like they were kind of friends. I'll say. Like I keep saying. And like Gus, if you guys know, like in Apollo 1, like he was one of the astronauts that sadly died when on that day. And like the way they, like how Neil found out about that was pretty good. Like I, I don't know about every single historical inaccuracy in this movie because I didn't know much about Neil Armstrong walking into this movie. The only thing I knew was Neil Armstrong was in a spinning situation one time in Gemini, and he went to the moon. That's all I know. That's all I really knew. So, that scene where he like basically kind of destroys the glass, like a cup he was holding. He kind of shatters that, and his hand is kind of bleeding when he hears the news that the mission was like that the astronauts died. like that's what like that scene was pretty good, and it was in like January 27th, 1968. But then they skip one more year. They skip a year over, and I'm like, what happened? What's like most of the emotion was there and then just went away. Like they kind of like they got me, and then it just like kind of went away. Like they did continue that sad like scene with Gus. He had a wife and kids and all that, and they did show like his wife, kind of not very happy about that her husband died, and they did show that scene well as well. But like they and although Gus was still a little more prominent later on, it just felt it just like it could have had more impact on me. Like there could have been a lot more impact with that scene. It could have been more emotional, but no, they kind of skipped over through that. I don't know, maybe history or whatever, but yeah, another scene I would like to talk about, like another example is Elliot. Like we see Elliot, with Neil Armstrong, like signing up for a NASA project or whatever, and you're like, oh, he seems like a nice guy, and he's with, you see him later on in few more years, like kind of like buddies as well. But his scenes, he was like almost in like 5 minutes of the movie, and then he dies. Like it's sad that he died and everything. I'm not saying like, oh, he why do you have to die this early? No, I'm not saying that. Like I don't want. I'm hoping I'm not offending anyone for saying like they died or whatever. But because they showed minimal scenes of Elliot, that like they didn't show that much scenes, and because of the jumping from year to year, kind of like it didn't like I said, it didn't leave much of an impact as it should have been. Like they tried like getting you at level of impact, and it just wasn't there. It was like let's say this was the scale, like it's not there. Like I don't know how I would scale it, but it's definitely not at the top. Sadly, it just wasn't there. Now I think that's like some of my main problems. It just like jumps from year to year and like too fast. Like that's one of my main problems with the film. Now let's talk about. Oh, sorry. Let's talk about the positives. Neil Armstrong is like pretty good. Like he's not that bad. Despite the jump to jump years, they do show his they do pretty well present his emotions and stuff really well into this movie. But in this movie, I like to mention he was kind of like he wasn't that guy that would like talk about his feelings and such. He was more silent on his like emotions, like like his nervousness or sadness or anything like that. Like he never showed it in to anyone, not even his wife. And I really liked how they, how they presented it in this movie. Like like for example, the death of his wife Karen, not wife, a daughter Karen, and it was pretty sad actually. It was kind of sad to see that his daughter dies. Now I think they probably should have shown us more of Karen in my opinion, but it was still pretty sad that the next scene, like we see Karen, with her dad, and then the next scene she's in a coffin, and it was a little sad, but and then he's just like this and then when he goes to a room alone, closes all the curtains and stuff, he cries, and I'm like, that's pretty sad. And Karen does pop up later in the movie, continue having an effect on Neil Armstrong. He even one guy asks him will your daughter's death have some effect? And Neil Armstrong answers that it will have some effect, and it does. Like one scene, he sees his daughter there, and the other scene it was and they mentioned how they didn't how Neil didn't mention about Karen, and it was pretty sad about how, like, this was a pretty sad scene. Like, with Karen's death and how progressed through the movies. And then, like, one of the most, like, saddest scenes, and, like, this was, like, really emotional. Like, I would have cried if, like, the movie was presented much better. Like, if they didn't jump too fast from year to year, this scene would have made me cry. And that was the scene where, like, you know, after the funeral, one thing that Neil Armstrong has was Karen was a necklace. And when, what happened was this, like, he, he put it away in his, like, drawer or whatever, and a few years later, he still has it. But when he goes to the moon, he he has the bracelet, and then he lets go of it. He drops it on the moon, leaving it there forever, and it's pretty sad actually. Like the tears on his face, and like the I don't know if there was score there or not, but either way, it was pretty powerful. I wish, but it could have been more powerful. But I think it was pretty good, and it was pretty emotional. Like the moon scenes was hands down probably the best scenes in the movie, and it was pretty impactful, and I really liked it. But I was disappointed to find out that that probably didn't happen in real life because out of all the interviews and stuff with Neil Armstrong, there's not really any evidence to support that he actually did bring a bracelet to space and dropped it on the moon at all. So I was kind of sad and disappointed about that, but it was used more for like an emotional scene, and I really like that. And it's just pretty sad. And we've seen how this is focused on Neil Armstrong. It makes sense not to put the flag in, like flag putting in the movie. In the movie, sorry if I'm trying to jab at the controversy one more time unnecessarily, even though I should do that. But yeah, so that was pretty powerful, and I did like how this was a more personal film. Like it wasn't about, like, I was surprised how it was less focused on the like moon mission, like the mission, and more on the character and the family of Neil Armstrong. And I really like that. I really like that. I think this film could have been as at high regards as Apollo 13 if it was as impactful as it could have been. Like it was right around there. It could have been that impactful. But yeah, I think it will be remembered, but mostly because of the moon scenes. I'll get to there soon, but yeah, another good scene was like the kids scene. Like that was pretty touching as well. Like I mentioned how he didn't really present his emotions, and his wife usually presented the emotions, or his wife basically presented the emotions of how, basically for him kind of, and how he had to say goodbye to these kids because he may never see them again because he's going to the moon, and that scene was, pretty touching. Like with Neil Armstrong and his kids, I have to say they were really good. In fact, I'm pretty sure Neil Armstrong's kids did speak out on the controversy issue, but I didn't look much further into that. Plus, I need to stop talking about it now because I don't want to bring any more attention to it now. So yeah, like that was pretty good. I also liked the how they were basically building up how they had to do all this stuff and how there were losses and all of that. Like they had to do a lot of stuff for the moment to go to the moon. Like it wasn't like they built a giant rocket ship, went to space, went to the moon, came back, done. No, it took a long process, and there were successes and tragedies, but in the end we made it to the moon. And I think that's where the movie does pretty good. Like they show how they've had successes and failures, but now they're getting closer and closer to the goal. And now when they're on the moon, you're like, we made it. Even though like I knew they were going to go to the moon, The moon was spectacular. The moon landing was really spectacular. And now this leads me to bring up their filming, and it is really well done. Like one of the first scenes of the movie was like Neil Armstrong piloting a plane, basically kind of going into space. But the shaky cam and all that was really necessary to show the intensity of, like, flying. It was done really well. I really like that. And when we got to the moon, it was breathtaking. The CGI, like, I don't, like, the entire movie looks real. Nothing looks fake. Nothing. Anyway, like, the moon landing was gorgeous. You look around the moon and you're in awe. Because you're in a new world now. You're basically in a new world. You're in space. It was really good. I really liked it, and like I said with the Karen scene, like that was very emotional. I really liked that, and it was very, it was a bit action packed as well, kind of. Well, what I mean by that is like there was an intense scene where they had to land somewhere and they were running out of fuel, and then he finally did land. Like the first step for a man is pretty good. Like they did use some footage from the recordings. Like I really liked that they did that as well. It was pretty good. And the scene when they, they're back on Earth and all that. And it was pretty good. Just it was pretty good. Like the next scene after the next few scenes like when they're back on Earth. Like what was really good was they added JFK's speech on there, and I really liked it. Like, here's the thing. In this channel, basically my profile picture for YouTube is JFK or John F. Kennedy. And one of his most famous speeches is the moon speech, which was, I'm pretty sure, in 1962. And it's really good. It's one of his best speeches, and I'm glad they included that in this movie. Basically shows, basically like explains why we went, why did we like the movie does present why did we have to go to the moon? Like what was the point? We could have done something else. But JFK or John F. Kennedy perfectly put why. And I really liked that. Also, I forgot to mention spoilers. Yeah, I probably should have said that first thing, but I just realized that now. Maybe I'll put in the title or whatever. I don't know. This discussion is pretty long. I think people would expect spoilers by now. But anyway, so yeah, that was pretty good. And then the scene with like Neil Armstrong and his wife, they just, like he touched the glass, because he had to be isolated or quarantined, just in case he got diseases. So his wife's on one side, Neil's on the other. Between them is glass. Neil touches the glass, his wife does, and then the movie ends. And I really liked that ending. The movie overall was pretty good. Like in the theater, it was mostly filled with like older people older than me. But there were also some like young people there as well. Like I wasn't the only young person there. Like I think someone next to me was like probably probably a bit older than me. Like I remember they were in the theater as well. And but yeah, like people were talking about all that, and I have to say that was a good movie. Like that really was like the shots, the moon. The moon was pretty good. Like Jeremy Johns mentioned in his review that there was silence, and I'm pretty sure while watching the movie there was silence as well. It was really good. So now, my final thoughts. I kind of gave you my final thoughts. The movie did have like a year to year issue. Kind of like a pacing issue a bit. It had a pacing issue, and also it didn't include enough scenes to make it really impactful. but the scenes we were left with were still pretty good. And I have to say, the character of Neil Armstrong and all that was pretty good, and the moon scenes were breathtaking. I recommend this movie to everyone. Like um like if you're not interested in history and all that, I can understand, but the moon scenes are pretty good. Like I recommend schools to show this movie. You know, I don't know why, maybe just like show like Neil Arm like, like if you're doing a lesson on the moon or NASA and all that, I suggest you show them this. You show them on the steps they took to get on the moon. Now, although Apollo 13 I hear is probably better, I think this movie may be better to show to kids because, well, to students, is because, it shows the steps people had to take to get there, but also of how important this mission was, but also how dangerous it could be. And also because the moon scenes are so breathtaking, I bet students are gonna feel like they're actually in there, like the movie. Like you can actually feel like you're there. Like I felt like I was there. I felt like I was actually kind of in space. I actually did feel that, and the movie was really well done. Like I really recommend teachers to show students this movie. I really do. We're gonna start a campaign. Teachers show this movie to students. But yeah, so I think I'd give a movie a B, but it's still pretty good. So that's my final thoughts, and I hope you enjoyed this video. It's probably a long one, and I hope some people do watch this video. I hope they hear what I have to say. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you later. Bye.